Great, man. Thank you very much for doing this at short notice as well. I really appreciate it. Mate, after the last 18 months of your life and probably now having a little bit of time to reflect on it, how do you reflect on it? How do you look back and sort of take it all in? Because it was pretty fucking crazy last couple of years for you.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Firstly, thanks for having me on, Chubby. Big fan of the show, so I feel honoured to be on the show.
Mate, the honor's
Um,
mine. The honor's mine, my friend.
yeah, I guess to answer your question, it's like I have had time to reflect on it now because obviously getting back into the country after the tour, it was pretty wild to. I guess the main thing was just sitting back with family and talking about all the stories and everything because I had mum and dad were over there. They got to watch me play and all that, so that was the time to reflect. And I think we had a good time there together down in Wollongong, just sitting back and sharing a beer or a coffee and just reminiscing on all the good times that happened when we were away. Because that was the whole thing, was being able to share it with my family and having my friends and that watch as well. So yeah, it was good to just sit back and talk about all the times that we had.
Mate, talk us through your last 18 months, where you started to where you ended up, because like I've been around rugby for a long time and I've seen some people, progress pretty quickly, but what happened to you was pretty absurd if we're being honest. So where were you 18 months ago? What were you doing? And then just talk us through the steps to get to the point you're at now.
Yeah, so I guess 18 months ago, I was working in the classroom as a teacher, still playing at Southern Districts, just plotting away, just trying to string together a few games in first grade. And I guess the whole process started from me having a bit of a good work life balance. I had a really good job at the school I was at. The teachers and the administration staff were very supportive of me wanting to go hard or go well at footy. So they were really accommodating with everything, with training and all that sort of stuff. So I guess that's where it all started, because I was in the classroom teaching, but then also being allowed to, leave early to get to training early to get my extras in or whatever. And I think as well as that, I had a really good routine, and that's where it all started. Early in the morning, training with the big door, Connor Young, one of the great men. So I think shout out to him because we really trained our asses off in the mornings and got a good routine going and started to develop those habits that we needed to, I don't know,
What
start.
time? What time were you training?
We would get up at 5:30 and be in the gym by 5:50 and train for an hour and a half before we both go to work, and then come back in the afternoon and train in the Arvo with Southern Districts. So I mean, it was that routine that kept us going, and yeah, I pay a lot of credit to that routine and being able to train with someone in a similar position and similar motivation and aspirations. So yeah.
So what happened? What happened after that? So you're at South. You've been training twice a day, working a full-time job, playing first grade, having beers on the weekend. What what was the next step after that?
Yeah, so I guess it was trying to, like I said, string together a few good games with grade. But it all started. We had a preseason training session, and shout out to the man behind the mic here, Duncan Chubb. You got your great friend Dan Palmer down to a training session, a units training session. And yeah, I guess we had a good conversation before, and you said this is your opportunity to put yourself out there and show what you can do. And yeah, it was just a regular training session, scrums and lineouts, the good stuff, obviously. And yeah, Dan was there and had a little look, and then after that, we had a little conversation, and he was just asking me questions about, what do I lift, how much do I weigh, what opportunities have you had so far, if any, and all that. And from there, it just sort of planted the seed, I guess, and then continued training and playing for South and going about usual routine, and then yeah, I got a phone call maybe I think it was 4 or 5 months later during the season. He said, same guy, Dan Palmer, called me and said, let's catch up for a coffee and have a chat. And then, yeah, he sat me down. He said, look, there's not necessarily a spot for you at the Brumbies at the moment because they've got all their spots filled up, but there's an opportunity to come down and do preseason. And I was like, yeah, sweet. Sort of just jumped at it and was pretty keen to be involved with the Brumbies because of how successful they were and still are. Such a unreal tight five front row culture as a club. So it was the dream. And then yeah, he just basically said it's an opportunity to come down and train, and then anything could happen from it, injuries, if you go well, then they could progress you up into the squad, that kind of thing. And yeah, so finished the season with South. And obviously, being a front rower at South, it was the perfect place to be as a stepping stone into the Super Rugby training because, as as a front rower, the culture down there was unreal. We had guys there, and we were bashing each other in unit sessions. And that's what I think is another reason why I was able to step up because we had a lot of really good front rowers down there, and it was just a really good place to be as a young front rower growing up and wanting to be a part of that culture. And yeah, so finished the season with Southern Districts and then went down and started pre-season with the Brumbies and played a couple of pre-season friendly games. And then they just basically turned to me and said, yeah, we're pretty keen to keep you. And then upgraded and extended my contract. And then, started round one the following year, which was pretty crazy.
Did you expect that?
I didn't expect it, but I did have it planted in my mind, like as soon as I got down there, because I knew that it was, I knew the date, I knew that it was in Sydney, and it was like the perfect way for me to, it was the perfect goal that I wanted in my mind to get to, because it was obviously Sydney, home game for me, for my family, all that sort of stuff. It would have been a great debut, and it was. So I think I didn't expect it, but I just really, really zoned in on wanting to be a part of it, whether it was starting on the bench, whatever. And yeah, so I was just lucky to be a part of it, and then here we are.
When did you get an inkling that you were in the mix for the Wallabies?
Well, we were, I think it was like 4 or 5 games in, and I got a phone call from Brett Hodgson, the defence coach, and he was like, "Hey mate, I'm in Canberra. Let's catch up." And that was it. And I was like, "Oh, all right, let's go." So it was just, my mind was blown. I was like, obviously being a young player in Australia, you always dream of being a part of that setup, but I never thought that it would come, as quickly as it did. But then once the phone call happened, met with Hodjo and all that sort of stuff, it just never left my mind, and that's all I wanted. So I guess that was the next goal, was to make a camp or a squad, and was lucky enough to be picked in the first squad, and then sort of went from there.
Mate, just to give people a little bit of background, did you have other opportunities before going down to the Brumbies? Did anyone else reach out to you, or were they the only team that, without naming names, of course?
Yeah, there was another club that was involved, but for me, like as soon as the Brumbies reached out and as soon as I spoke to Dan Palmer, me and you had a really good conversation about him as a coach and a bloke and a person, and what the Brumbies is all about. And guy, how could you not want to, as a front rower, be down there with guys like Slips, Allen, all that sort of stuff. So it was never not going to be the Brumbies. As soon as they reached out, so
just can I, without going into details, did the other club offer you more money?
At the time they did, yes.
Yeah. So I guess the point I'm trying to get across is you saw that the Brumbies was an opportunity to develop yourself as a player, and you took maybe less up front because you knew that it would be more down the track. Yeah. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Which I don't think, and for anyone listening, I don't think that's a very common attitude amongst players these days. A lot of guys would like the paycheck now without really going to the potential program where they're going to develop themselves the best. So I just wanted to put that in for anyone listening. Mate, when you went down to the Brumbies, was there anything that surprised you?
I guess it was just how tight all the boys were, and it didn't take long for me to gel with some of the boys. Like, we've got a really good group of everyone hangs out together, but you've always got your little small groups that you hang out with, and we hang out all day, every day together. We go for coffee, we go to the movies, like whatever. That not much to do in Canberra, but we find things to do. So it just surprised me how tight everyone was. From and the good thing about it is that everyone's different. Everyone offers different things, and everyone hangs out together and has a good time. So there's no cliques or anything like that, and it's just a really good environment to be a part of because everyone's good mates. You know, there's as I said, not a lot to do in Canberra, so everyone hangs out all the time and gets to know each other, and we know each other like the back of our hands. You know, and then when it comes to training, it's just like another session. You know, because we hung out, you know, the day before or whatever on the weekend, and it's just a really really good environment. So yeah, to answer your question, it's just the camaraderie and cohesion amongst the squad.
Why why have they been so successful? As someone that's new to professional rugby going into this environment, what sort of stood out to you? What stood out to you as a reason why this place has been so good for such a long period of time?
I think what like their whole mindset is they bring guys in to develop long term. They don't, you know, bring a guy in for a couple of weeks and get rid of him. You know, they bring guys in and they invest in the long term. You know, and another guy who's come in as a young front rower, you know, Reece Van Neck, you know, came over from the Melbourne Rebels and similar to me, came in at a similar time, and you know, we both were playing in the front row and you know, had good game time last year. So that's just another example. You know, there's many examples before that. So I think, yeah, like developing long term rather than bringing guys in just for, you know, a number to hold a pad or whatever. They've got a long term vision in place for everyone that they bring in, and I think they're not going to bring you down unless they think that you can, you know, offer something to the club and at least develop in a way that's going to contribute and give the club a bit of success or, yeah, at least fit in. So, yeah.
What's it like doing scrums against Alan Alatoa at training?
Yeah, like the unit sessions we do at training are way harder than the games because they try and, you know, simulate a game sort of style, and it's very intense, and that's where you learn the most, you know, because you get dicked, you get put on your ass, you get put in the air. But then after you turn around and you have a little conversation, or after you go for a coffee and you're talking about what happened and all that sort of stuff. And again, that's another reason why the club is so successful. Is because not only do we go hard at training, but we try and make each other better, you know. And that's it's always team first, you know. And everyone's mindset is they want to be better, but they want to be team first. So I guess those unit sessions really show what the club's about.
What was a standard week like from a set piece point of view? Maybe during preseason, let's say.
Yeah, so at the moment we do on a Monday we do lineouts. So it's a lot of install and then a lot of oppose and all that sort of stuff, and that's where you get all your detail and all that in for your lineouts. So you know, sort of a light install day for lineouts and more. Then a Tuesday we'll do scrums. Again, similar to the line-out session on a Monday, a little bit of install, you know, 3-on-3, 5v5, 8-on-8, just holding, getting shape, that kind of thing. Yeah. And maybe a couple of lives in there with different sort of, goals in mind. And then on a Thursday, that's our big units day. We do a big rotation where you start off with an opposed line out, then you'll go into a pick and drive, then you'll go into a live scrum, then you'll go into a live maul.
So game specific sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And you split into teams, and everyone's got a line out leader, a scrum leader, and you do one rotation, then you stop and you have a good chat about what happened. The line out leader speaks, the scrum leader speaks, and then we go again. We just keep going for 40, 45 minutes. And it sort of builds. It builds throughout the week to that main session on a Thursday. And then on a Friday, we're not doing units on a Friday at the moment because we train off site. But yeah, it sort of builds into that massive rotation game simulation session.
So just to clarify, forwards coach there now is Benny Moen, and scrum coach is John Ulungia, the great man, Luigi.
Yeah.
Another Southern Districts guy and an absolute champion of a bloke. Mate, tell me about the World Cup. I can imagine for you it would have been an interesting experience because you literally living the dream. Like, the craziest year of your life. I assume you're making good coin finally, or at least more than you have in the past. You're in France, you're playing for the Wallabies, your family's there, but it probably wasn't the best tournament from an Australian perspective. And there's, I know you can barely read, so you're probably not reading the newspapers back home. But there was some comments made about the team and certain individuals involved. But what was that experience like for you? A good experience? Was it a weird experience? How did you look back on the World Cup?
Yeah, I think weird is a good way to describe it. Because I can't sit here and lie to you and say that I didn't leave that experience with a little bit of a bittersweet taste in my mouth, because it was such an amazing experience to be a part of. But again, like, just the result, it's a results based business. You know what I mean? You got to win. You got to in order to progress, you got to win. So that was the disappointing thing. And then obviously, like, for me personally, like, I feel bad for the guys the older guys who were there, and potentially could have been their last World Cup. Guys like Slips, Nick White, those kind of guys, and then also for the guys who missed out. And that could have been their first World Cup. So for me personally, I'm very grateful to be a part of it. And I think now it's about how can we progress, and that comes back to focusing on Super Rugby and trying to dominate the New Zealand teams and win back some respect from the community and all the supporters, because that's the main thing, right? We want to get that support and respect back, because let's be honest, we weren't good enough over there.
Mate, what was it like running out against France? Your first test, like, what were you're on the bench? I can only imagine how that feels. What was it like? You get the tap on the shoulder, Schoupp, you're on. Like, talk us through that. How did that feel in your mind?
Yeah, it's definitely the most nervous I've ever been sitting on the bench. Because as you do when you sit on the bench, you sort of analyze everything that's happening. You think, when am I going to get on? I was watching Belly the whole time, waiting for him to put his hand up. But no, it was just like out of this world, like 80,000 people there screaming. Like, the French crowd is unbelievable. The atmosphere was insane. And I guess when I got the call to get up, it all happened really quickly, because, as you do when you're a sub, you get up and you pretty much run on. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a blur, but I mean, yeah, I just can't believe that, it sort of happened the way it did, because it was pretty much like a dream way to start, because it was good to get that sort of debut out of the way before we hit the World Cup, because then it was done. I could put that to bed and focus on performing for the team, rather than riding the highs and the emotions of a debut. So yeah, when I got the tap on the shoulder, I was just full of adrenaline and all that sort of stuff, and ran out and just had to calm down, and because I ran on to a scrum, that was the that was the moment I ran on. So I just had to calm myself down, because I get really full of adrenaline and worked up. Yeah.
What's with a moment like that? Obviously, a significant moment in anyone's life. Did you get time? Like, obviously, I had their name you earlier in the week, and you build through the week, and I could only imagine what that week's like. Do you get time to reflect on it, or is it you've had that moment onto the next job? Like, what's it like when you're actually in that environment at that level?
I guess it was pretty similar to the way I found out about my Super Rugby debut. Like, it was just business as usual. Like, when I found out about Super Rugby, Bernie didn't make a big deal about it. He just announced it, and then it was like, yep, sweet. And that, like, helped me calm my nerves a bit. And it was the same for the Wallabies debut, because they announced it when we were doing our little walkthrough, and then after that it was like, right, get ready, we're going to training. And I could reflect a bit when I was sitting on the bus talking to the boys, like, and having those little conversations and that. But I think it was the way it happened was good, because it sort of made me calm down and focus on, because there's a job to do, So it was, I think it was handled well.
Mate, when you were in France, did you guys get the opportunity to have any fun away from footy without throwing anyone under the bus? Like, what's touring like now in the professional environment? I assume a lot of it's pretty business, but young men living the dream. You got to have a chance to unwind as well. Did you guys get to do a little bit of that?
Yeah, we definitely did. During the week, it was hard, obviously, because there's a big focus now on recovery and all that sort of stuff. So during the week, it was a bit hard, but they definitely gave us plenty of moments to connect, if you will. And I think that sort of 10 days we had in Paris before the World Cup was a really good experience, because we were very close to all the action, like the Eiffel Tower and the main strip and all that sort of stuff. So when we had the afternoon off and the next day off, we would get on the line bikes, ride in, go for a look, go for a coffee, go for a beer, whatever. And, that time was really special, because, every time we went to the Eiffel Tower, I just looked up and said to the boys, this is unbelievable. Like, I can't believe we're doing this. we're looking at the Eiffel Tower right now, but we've got to train. We trained today, and then we're preparing for a game on the weekend. So it was just unreal. It was one of those pinch me moments. And then, yeah, moving into the World Cup, obviously a bit different with where we were based. We were based in a little town called Saint Galmier, which was like just outside of Saint Etienne. The resort we stayed at was unbelievable. Sauna, pool, spa. We had our own room, all that sort of stuff. So it was good for the time that we had there. The only thing that was a little bit underwhelming was the amount of things that we could do outside of that. We could get the bus into Saint Etienne every now and then and walk around, but you can only do that so many times. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but there were also times where we could go for team dinners. And a couple of times, after a game, we could come back to the team hotel and unwind a bit, connect again, and that which was good. But yeah, overall, it was just. I think the highlight was those 10 days in Paris and just being able to see the sights with the boys and do what you love doing, which is playing footy and hanging out with the boys.
Mate, what was it Arnhem Land you guys went to? What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was wild. Like getting a little charter plane up to the top of Australia and jumping in these Land Cruisers with these locals and driving around and pretty much driving on the beach to get to our camp and then sleeping on the sand with the boys and in big tents and that. And yeah, just got to experience the cultural side of it, which was really good. We had a lot of opportunities to go and do activities like, spearfishing and snorkeling, not snorkeling because there were crocodiles in the water, which was a bit scary. But yeah, there were plenty of opportunities for all these, fun activities to do. And, we got to share a beer together with the locals on the night that we stayed there. And then, yeah, flew back to Sydney on the little plane, which was good. Yeah, it was just like, again, unbelievable.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Something that not many people get to do, I reckon. And getting right out there with your mates in real Australia, I reckon that would have been awesome. Mate,
Yeah, yeah.
I got no more World Cup questions for you. I think when people look back on that World Cup, I reckon that's going to be something that sets us up for future success down the road. I think a lot of negativity and a lot of people have said things about it, but I reckon we'll look back on that and go, that was the impetus for what's going to happen soon. Mate, one thing I did want to ask you, when I first met you, you were a genuine third grade hooker. And I don't think I think that's probably
That's
fair.
fair.
Fair. What happened in your mind? What happened in your mind to go from, yeah, what happened in your brain? What clicked? Was it a matter of getting into a routine and training with Dor and like the scrum culture? Was it Palms going, hey, there might be an opportunity here? What kind of changed in you to get you to the human you are now, I guess?
I think previously, like you said, I was a genuine third grade hooker. I didn't really have any goals. I didn't like write anything down. I was just there to participate, and I was just happy, just being a part of it, right? And then I guess what made me click was, my younger brother plays in the NRL, and seeing him go well and and live that lifestyle that we all dream of. It made me think like, why can't I have that? And then I think when yourself and Todd were coaching at some districts and started to instill that sort of high performance environment into the club,
Mm.
it made me think that I could use this as a way to get the most out of it and just see what happens. And I started doing things like writing goals down. Like I've got it on my computer. I wrote goals down, like everything that was had to happen to lead up to getting a Super Rugby contract. So it was like start for Southern District's first grade, become the best loose head prop in the competition. Then it was like a couple of other things to progress up to get a Super Rugby contract. And I guess once I wrote things down and actually had goals in mind, then I could figure out how to go about doing that. So that's when the routine came in. And I was like, I need a gym every morning before work because then it gives me time to recover when I get home from work, go to training, and get things done. So I guess to answer your question, it's writing goals down and having a bit of a mindset that gives you what you want. I mean, I never really was confident in myself when I was younger or coming out of school into grade and all that sort of stuff. I was just happy to be there. I didn't really have any goals or aspirations because, I was just having a bit of fun with the boys, But once I realized that, it's what I wanted, I had to figure out like, exactly what I wanted. So I wanted a Super Rugby contract and then I had to work down from there. What do I need to do And yeah, I guess it was just about going about every day with that routine, trying to make the most of it, but also enjoying it, because like Southern Districts it was a great place for me because some of my best mates for life are there now, and I really enjoyed my footy. We didn't have a lot of success, but training every Tuesday and Thursday or whenever we trained was great. And then the Saturday Arvo down at Foreshore Park was the place to be, and that just allowed me to enjoy my footy, enjoy playing with the boys, but also like having that thing in my mind where I really wanted to have a crack and get a Super Rugby contract.
Mate, that's fantastic. I've been asked by a number of people, what happened with Blake Schoupp? Like, how did he do what he did? So I hope anyone listening to that gets a really good insight. And I think from someone that knows you a little bit, seeing how hard you worked, and I think sometimes when you work hard without expecting the reward and you're just working on getting better and better and better, that's kind of when things happen. Like Palms is coming to how that happened with Palms. He was in Cronulla. He goes, "Want to have a coffee?" I go, "Yeah, let's have a coffee." He goes, "Oh, you guys doing scrums tonight? I might come to training." So it was just completely random, but that's kind of what happens when you work hard. Sometimes the opportunities just present themselves. So, Matt, I couldn't be happier for you. How long are you at the Brums for? You got another couple of years?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm contracted till 2026. Pretty stoked with that because like I said before, it's just the place to be as a front rower. Can't thank the club enough, and I want to give a shout out to your mate and now my good mate Dan Parr, because without him, I don't think this would have been possible. He put a lot of energy and a lot of effort into me when I first came down, and he kept saying to me the whole time, he's like, "We're gonna sort it out. We want to keep you. I'll make sure it'll happen." That kind of thing. So I just want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to him because and also to yourself. You made the connection. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible, mate. So I think I really want to just thank you guys both for everything you've done, and we're only just getting started.
Well, absolutely, mate. I will never speak on Palm's behalf because he's way smarter than me, but you did all the work, so you absolutely deserved everything that you got. Mate, that's pretty much all I've got for you. I usually have all these fucking little rapid fire questions, but I think anyone that's listened to that will get something really good out of that, mate. So, um, as always, mate, rooting for you, and yeah, hopefully see you at Stumps. Actually, we're playing your A team in March, I think. So we'll catch up for a coffee and a beer when we come down. Thank you, my
100%.
friend.
Thank you for having me.